Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the beautiful, scary Zara Mary. How you doing today?
I'm doing really good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's truly an honor to have you here. But Zara, before we get into why you're here, I would like for the
Mm,
people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. Um, you are a huge horror fan, obsessed with The Exorcist.
yes.
You are from the north of England, and you regularly provide horror movie reviews and horror movie pretty much everything ahead of their general release over at your channel. You cosplay as your favorite horror film characters as well over at Rate Scary. So,
Yep.
um, what gave you the push and the drive to do Rate Scary and actually put it out there for the world?
Oh, really good question. I think what I found with my social media is that I was talking more and more about horror films just because I'm so passionate about it and the videos were getting longer and longer and longer and I thought I'm gonna have to make the move into a podcast just so that then I can ramble for longer, basically.
Sure. Well, and I love the channel. You come highly recommended, and it's very, for me, it's a huge honor to be able to do this. And how
Thank
long have
you.
you been doing Rate Scary for?
Literally since December of last year, so it's very, very new to me. What we're talking 6 months now that I've been doing it. I've been talking about horror online for the past 5 years, but it's a very recent transition into doing a podcast and a YouTube. So, but I'm loving it because it just gives me that freedom to be able to not just talk into a void for longer, but actually build a new community, people that I haven't engaged with before, which is fantastic.
And you do a great job. It's an amazing
Thanks.
channel, and I love what you do. And if you guys haven't already, I have all of her social media links down in the description. So make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Make sure you're following on social media so you can become a part of that family as well. I promise you, you're not gonna regret it. So
Ah,
we know you've been
thanks.
doing this for about 6 months. We know that you like to do horror movie reviews and things like that, but when it comes to cosplay, do you have a favorite cosplay that you've done so far?
Oh, do you know what? I got asked this question yesterday actually on my Instagram. The Exorcist, Reagan will always be my favorite just because I
Yeah.
have such a love for that film. I do enjoy doing, it seems to be cosplays where I have to paint myself entirely green. So I've done Greta Gremlin before, I've done Striped Gremlin, I've done the Grinch at Christmas, and I always end up covered in green paint, which green's my favorite color, so I'm not complaining too much. It's just that when it comes to trying to wash it off and I have to go into work the next day, it's a bit more difficult.
Right. Yeah, you still have a minty vibe to you.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. A glow.
so, I know that you love The Exorcist, and we know that you've done a lot of things with gremlins and things of the sort, but real quick, I would like to go back to the past and talk
Mm,
about what got you started in the horror genre, your first
yes.
horror movie, and Zara, your first horror movie was.
Jaws, 1975.
And I think this movie is still so influential and still,
Yep.
I mean, it still causes the argument of is it or is it not a horror movie, which I think is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I think it absolutely is a horror movie, and I will go to bat for that always. But it's still such a anomaly of a movie to me that it's able to do still today what it was able to do back then and still cause that conversation and still get people talking about how great the film really is. So, do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I must have been 8, 7 or 8, somewhere around that age. This was before the internet.
Hmm.
And I had a computer at home, a family computer that you all had to share and use. And before the internet, we all had CD-ROMs. And I had an encyclopedia one. And at that
Yeah.
age, I was obsessed with sharks, obsessed with them. I had posters, books, watched programs all the time. I just loved them so much because they were scary and fascinating. So obviously, when I got this encyclopedia CD-ROM, the first thing I searched was sharks. And within this article on there, there was a link to a film called Jaws. I was like, oh, what is this? And I clicked on it, and it was the clip of when they're on the boat and Brody sees the shark for the first time as he's chumming over the side of the boat, and he says,
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
and I kept showing my dad, and he finally caved and bought the VHS, and we watched it for the first time, and that
That's
was it.
incredible. One of the best ad-libbed lines of all time. I
Yes.
mean, when I found out that wasn't scripted, I was like, there is no way. That's one of the
I know.
most popular lines from any movie ever. So that's absolutely incredible. So you kind of touched on my next question. Who did you watch it with for the first time? We know you watched it with your father for the first time. And
Yeah.
man, this movie still, like I said, so impactful to this day. But Zara, do you remember what the scene was that affected you the most?
Oh, I think different scenes have affected me in different ways as I've watched the film kind of growing up. So that particular scene when I was younger had the greatest impact because it's the first time you see the shark, and you don't really see the shark an awful lot in Jaws.
Right.
I think as I've gotten older, the scene that impacts me the most is Mrs. Kittner, Alex's mum. Oh, just when she's wearing her morning dress and she slaps Brody, just gets me every single time how upset she is. And I think that's just being a woman in her 30s now and kind of understanding the grief that she's going through. That didn't affect me when I was younger. I wasn't interested in that. I
Sure.
I wanted to see the big bad shark. So
Right, right. And I do think, like you said, there's not a lot of the shark in the movie, and I think that's a happy accident. I think if the shark would have been more prevalent in the movie, it may not have had the effect that it does.
yeah,
We've always said there's nothing scarier than what happens in my imagination. So when we have to use
absolutely.
our imagination over and over for the use of the shark, I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant that that's the route that they went with it, even if it was an accident. So,
Yeah.
um, we know what scene affected you the most from Jaws, and
Mm,
like I said, it's like you said, as a parent now, things like that are heartbreaking. I've talked about that before. Watching movies like this, The Exorcist, Pet Cemetery,
mm,
watching those as a child versus watching them as an adult are two completely different viewings.
yeah,
You see
completely.
things so much more clearly and from an adult point of view. And so I understand why that scene affects you so much more now as the father of three children myself. That's, you know, why didn't you help my kid? Why
Yeah.
why didn't you get step in? So we know what scene affected you the most, but what would you say your favorite scene from Jaws is?
Oh, really good question. Again, I think I do love the scene where Hooper is diving and they come across the boat and that entire jump scare sequence of you see the face suddenly pop out and he drops the tooth. I love that because it's such a pivotal moment in the film as well. It's not only a fantastic jump scare and still holds up today, um, but the fact that he dropped the tooth, like
Yeah.
if he'd have just been able to take that tooth to the surface, it would have changed the entire rest of the film and the events that go on from there. But he isn't believed. So I love that scene.
Do you know the backstory behind that?
I don't know.
That was not a part of the original film, that whole
Okay.
scene. And they had a viewing, and Spielberg was like, it's missing something. And he went and shot that whole scene in his pool at his own house.
Oh,
That
wow.
whole scene was an add on after the fact. And I think that is just insane to me. And that's why, to me, Steven Spielberg is Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
Um,
completely.
one of the greatest jump scares of all time, and he was just like, we need to add something. We
Yeah.
need something more. And that's what they did. I think it's just,
In a
to
pool.
this day, it's such a, yeah, in a pool. He did it in a
Yeah.
pool in his backyard. Like, and ladies and gentlemen, that's why Steven Spielberg is one of the goats, because he sees things like that, he feels it, and he knows he needs to add something to make it right.
Yeah.
So um
Oh,
whether we
wow.
like it or not, Jaws is a franchise. There are four films in this franchise, and I think it's a silly question, especially when I'm talking about Jaws. But I gotta ask: is the first one your favorite in the franchise?
It is, but do you know what? If I've got friends over, I do like to put the 3D one on. Just just for laughs, really. I think because of the shark design in it, because it's specifically designed for 3D. I
Mhm.
remember showing my husband that for the first time because he'd seen the original time and time again. And I did a recent rewatch of all of the films, and he joined me for that one and was just like, oh my God. And do you know what? We had such a fun time watching it
Oh, sure.
because we were just having a laugh. So it was a different experience, but I do have a bit of a weird love for that one.
See, I'm not gonna lie. I think that Jaws 2 is one of the most underrated films of all time,
Mm.
let alone sequels. I love Jaws 2. Um, Jaws will always be tops for me, obviously,
Yeah,
but
of
I
course.
do love Jaws 2, and Jaws 3D is just, you're right, it has that just enough amount of goofiness to
Yeah.
make it a laugh as you're going through it. Jaws 4 is just, the revenge, get that out
Ugh.
of here. But
Yeah.
and now, as we know, in Hollywood, remakes, requels, sequels, it's kind of all the rage. People love it. Is Jaws a movie that you would like to see remade today?
Oh, I think it's so tricky because any shark film that is made is going to be compared to Jaws.
Sure,
Any. And I think the closest that we've come to a really great shark film in modern day for me is The Shallows with Blake Lively. I think that's a
yeah,
fantastic film. You see very little of the shark, and the bits of the shark that you do see, they've really invested in the CGI. Um, but I just don't think you're going to get a shark film that follows that exact same format that is going to
sure.
do as great a job. I'm a massive lover of practical effects in films
Hmm.
over CGI,
Yeah,
and the fact that the shark was mechanical and a massive pain in the ass just made the film.
yeah.
Um, I'm a sucker for a shark film, so I'm really excited that we're getting Dangerous Animals this year.
Hmm.
I'm going to a screening of that in London in a couple of weeks. So any shark film, send it my way. I'll be there.
Please let me know how it is after you see it. But
Yeah, I
and I'm
will.
I'm with you. I don't want to see with me. I've always said that CGI should be your seasoning and practical
Mm,
effect should be your meat and potatoes. Use your CGI to season it, but don't over
correct.
season it.
Yep,
Keep practical. Don't over season your food or else it's not going to taste good. Don't over season the movie or it's going to look like shit. But
exactly.
um like I said, if there was a Jaws remake, obviously I'd be there opening night. I've always said the only two movies I would not like to see remade are Jaws and Back to the Future. I think those ones are
Yeah, fair.
perfect time capsules of where they are. But
Mm.
if they did, no one's going to listen to Ken Sledge anyway. I don't have any say in this. But if they did, I'd obviously be there opening night. And the best thing is, if the movie sucks, you can't come take the original off my shelf. I still have the
Exactly. It's
original to
still
watch
there.
whenever I want. So I've had, I love talking about Jaws and what that movie means to you. But here for a second, I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. My little
Ooh.
buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you.
Ugh.
What's your favorite scary movie, Zara? What is your I think I know the answer, but what is your favorite horror movie of all time?
So I have become known a little bit, certainly in the UK, as the Exorcist girl.
I knew it was, but
I know.
Ghostface is here, and if I didn't let him ask, he'd probably attack me when the episode was over.
We don't want
So
that at all.
right,
No. Yeah,
right.
it's got to be The Exorcist. I have so much love for that film. I forget how many times I've watched it.
I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
I have prints of it. I have various different memorabilia. I'm not really, I wouldn't consider myself a horror collector. I'm a huge horror fan, but I don't really go for merch or anything like that.
Sure.
But The Exorcist is an exception.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this: what's your opinion on the Exercise franchise as a whole?
Ooh, so love the original. Not keen on two. Really loved three. Um, didn't get on with Believer. I could see what they were trying to do. It just didn't work for me personally. Loved the TV series. Absolutely loved it, and I wish they'd continued it. And I'm actually really excited that Mike Flanagan is taking on
Oh yeah.
the project. I think Mike Flanagan is fantastic. I think some of the spooks and haunts and jump scares that he's delivered through some of his TV programs like Bly Manor, I think he could be perfect for it. He just seems to love horror and he understands how to creep people out. And I think that's what you need. And I think he'll do a really good job of paying homage to the original without trying to identically replicate it, which I think is what it needs.
He's my favorite creator at the moment.
Yeah, same.
Director, writer. He's no misses for me. Everything he
No.
does, like Doctor Sleep is my favorite horror sequel of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Before I Wake. I love all the TV stuff he did. He's just one of those guys that everything he touches, to me, he could take a shitty movie like Ouija and then create a prequel, Ouija Origins of Evil, and just make it phenomenal. So yeah, absolutely love him. Absolutely super excited to see what he's able to do with the upcoming sequel to Believer, Deceiver, Golden Retriever. I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. It could be called Exorcist Golden Retriever, a Mike Flanagan film, and
I'll
I'd
go
still
see
be there
it.
opening night.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. I'll be there opening night. So, Zara, I've had an amazing time talking about the
Thanks.
Jaws and Exorcist, and what makes you tick as a horror fan. But before I let you go, we always bounce back to the same question. We're going to go back to Jaws, and what we're going to do, Zara, is rank this on a skull count. Now,
Ooh.
we're not ranking this on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're not being critics. All we're doing is ranking Jaws on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle.
Okay.
Zara, what would your ranking of Jaws be?
I'm going with a 4.5, and I'm going with it because the only reason it's not a 5 is because I love sharks so much. I still do to this day, but it affected me so much that we used to go on regular beach holidays as a family. I used to go bodyboarding. I'd go rock pooling, and that film stopped me from doing that for a good period of time. And that was me watching
Sure.
it in the 90s, so even 20 years after its release, and it affected me that much. And then I just think the film as a whole has had such an impact with regards to people being afraid to go in the sea, and people even being afraid to go in swimming pools. Like you get those grates at the bottom of a swimming pool, people thinking
Oh
there's
yeah.
sharks behind there. Jaws has done that. So from an impact perspective, 4.5 for sure.
See, and it's funny because we've talked about, like, there's certain films, and the 3 that come right to my mind right away are Jaws, Halloween 1978, and Psycho. Even if you've never seen those movies, you know the score.
Yeah.
You
Oh God,
know
yeah.
the score of those films, and that's how transcendent these movies are, and especially Jaws. You always have that one asshole when you're swimming that's doing the dun.
Yeah.
Like it happens every time. So I really truly believe that every aspect of Jaws is like that. It was so
Mm,
effective to people when it first came out that people weren't going to the ocean anymore.
nope.
And people that, like I said, that have never seen it, they know the score of this film. So, guys, I know I said it at the beginning, but we're at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, I have all of Zara's links down in the description. So make sure you're subscribing to Rate Scary and make sure you're following her on social media so you can become a part of all the amazing things that she's done and that she has coming up for us as well. So, Zara, please don't go anywhere. I have a couple more questions for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
Everyone else, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Those links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.